Hi, I just got back from a tour of cannabis conferences from all over Canada. I delivered educational presentations, hosted panel discussions, as well as product tastings, and I loved it. I got to give a nice shout out to the BC Summit in Kelowna, the Grow Up Conference in Edmonton, the Kind Gardens in Calgary, and of course, Lift in Vancouver and Toronto. And it was amazing to connect with hundreds of cannabis industry professionals. But in particular, I loved blazing with cannabis smelly students from all across the country. It was so reassuring to feel connected to so many other passionate individuals. However, there is something that I noticed that every single event, bud tenders would come up to me and tell me this problem. I'm new to the industry and I get nervous when super experienced OG customers come in. They have all these high expectations, and I feel like I'm being judged for my product recommendations. For example, we have this customer, we kind of give him a nickname, OG Bill, and he buys an ounce every few days. And I was warned by my manager that I have to be careful not to piss him off because he spends a lot on the store. But I'm afraid I'm not good enough and he won't listen to me because I don't really smoke as much weed as he does. Last time I was in the store, he looked at me, completely did a scan, and dismissed me and went straight to another bud tender guy. And I felt ashamed that I wasn't able to help him. It's very common for newer people to the industry, or you just started smoking cannabis and you feel like you have to compare yourself to someone that has been consuming for a much longer time. And then there's like a whole big menu you have to somehow memorize and sell. And then as soon as you get to learning what those aromas and flavor profiles and the selling points are for all your products, then the menu will refresh and then you have to start all over again. And I feel I always get nervous when a customer's asking me to sell them a product that I don't even know what it looks like or smells like. I haven't had the chance yet. And I remember this experience where I was at an event and there was I went to this room, a table full of dab rigs, sharp tools, torches, and then right next to the torch is this like 4 liter jug of ISO, very very flammable and dangerous, right? And I was like, holy! In this room there was 8 of these OG dudes looking at me, and they didn't know really what to say, but I could feel their eyes on me, and I felt judged, right? And however, this wasn't my first time in this situation, and I was able to establish credibility and earn the respect of these OGs like that. So, not only did I learn how to earn their respect, I also know how to get them onto my side as friends and we support each other. So, I'm going to show you 3 tips that really accelerated my credibility and confidence so that I can impress the most OG type of customer. Tip number 1: the first thing I want you to get over is this feeling of judgment or intimidation. Okay, I get it. Sometimes that OG Bill customer will give one quick look at you and dismiss you and go straight to some other stoner looking dude. Okay, you have to kind of have a shift in perspective because even the most OG cannabis consumer, their scope of product experience is still quite narrow. Have they tried all the cannabis products out there yet? I don't think so. But other times, just be mindful that it's actually your mind projecting this inadequacy. And of course, OG Bill is going to pick up that and he's going to feel this like barrier, like a fence that you're putting up because you already feel inadequate, which is sending vibes that you're like, I'm not ready to connect with you. So OG Bill is going to pick that up and say, hey, you know what? I actually don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable or make it a hard time for you. So I'm just going to go talk to somebody else. So this is what I do. And I recommend you do it too. You just drop your ego and say, I am worthy. I am worthy as anyone else on this planet. I earned my place to be here, and my purpose is to not show off how knowledgeable I am or prove that I can smoke more weed than anyone else. But my real purpose today is to serve my customer with an open heart. So you take the mind out and you open up your heart. Anyone's negative judgment of me not consuming all the cannabis products out there is totally irrelevant to me providing excellent service and product recommendations. So now that we have that mental block taken care of, okay, get rid of that feeling of imposter syndrome. You are worthy, you are capable, and you can absolutely make a difference in this industry. So that leads me to tip number 2. Open-hearted service beats out intimidating judgments any and every day. You have to think about how can I serve or make this other person's day better or easier. So try to remember their name and their face, okay? That is one really important skill. And pay attention to what they are holding or carrying or wearing, because quite often cannabis consumers, we have like a deeper appreciation for things like music or pop culture and art. So if they are sporting something that you recognize, give appreciation and honor to that. And what that does is it gives you this level of connection that honors them. They want to feel like someone's going to take care of them and understand them and be heard and be seen. A communication tip that I like to implement is, I'm so delighted to be here with you and I really want to help. May I ask you a few questions so that I can better assist you? And customers are always so blown away when I'm that polite. They can't say no. And it automatically opens things up. A guaranteed, sure shot way to win over someone's heart is through kindness of sharing, because sharing is caring. And so I always come prepared. Okay, this is a major tip. Always come preloaded. I had 2 dabs and I announced in the room because no one said a thing and it was this awkward silence. So I said, hey guys, I've got these 2 hashes. They're from the Canadian Cannabis Championships, the 2 finalists, and I would love to get your input on them. Would you mind issuing me a dab? And number 2, do you want to try some yourself? So of course that is the easiest way, because cannabis is that key to someone's heart that unlocks it. I'm going to switch to a different example. Let's say they smoke. They don't really do dabs. It's not that kind of OG. It's a different OG, okay? The other week, I met Ed Rosenthal, okay? The author of this book, The Cannabis Grower's Handbook. And he is a legend if you haven't heard of him before. And I got to say, for him, all I did was offer kindness and say, may I help you with your luggage? Here, let me take this for you. And may I roll you a joint? I've had nobody refuse me. Tip number 3. Okay? Really embrace your knowledge and trust in your own expertise. So believe me, you know more than you give credit for. And confidence comes from acknowledging your knowledge and allowing it to guide your recommendations. So it's always good to look up the customer's purchase history if you're able to see that, and to dive into what genetic lineages that customer prefers. And this does take study, but I have all the tools to share with you in the Cannabis Sommelier program. And they often love to recognize names and do some name dropping. So for example, this is what I'll say. I noticed you purchased a Kush last time, and we've got this amazing, great option that is punchy, stinky, and gassy, and that is the Tom Ford Pink Kush by Canwe. And I gotta say, I didn't get to smoke it, but hundreds of other cannabis sommeliers have smoked it and they were blown away by it. And I gotta say, don't take my word for it, take theirs, because they smoked a lot more weed than me. So
And if then the customer is still like, okay, well, then you can add on another layer. I can say, if you're looking for something more exotic, something further away from an old school land race, but I can find something more unique, such as the Chem cookies by Growtown and Lush. Gotta say, it carries that true Chem sweet gas profile, and it's really smooth. So I have a few options for you. What kind of speaks to you? Or are you looking for some old school cultivars? I have this really great Acapulco Gold. It's a land race from Mexico, grown by Johnny Chronic, and people have been loving it. It's sweet, it's spicy. If that's not something you're looking for, but you want something more, let's say berry like, I've got Mother of Berries. It tastes and smells like blueberry cheesecake. And this one's grown by Greenman Acres. I gotta say, a lot of people have been really impressed by it. In class, we learned how to identify aromas and flavors and give words to it, which helps with your authenticity and your credibility. Because when you talk to that OG Bill customer, when you say heavy indica, I just want to make sure, are you talking about something that is really, really gassy or skunky? Or do you want something that's more earthy or berry like? And then I'll start saying, okay, well, what about cheese? And so the customer might, you just kind of look for feedback, because when their eyes light up, they get excited, they start smiling. Or when someone says, well, I just want something that knocks me on my butt and helps me relax, then I can say, hey, you know what? When it comes to something that is potent, when you're smoking it, you're actually not absorbing all the cannabinoids. So it's actually very inefficient to burn weed, because you're literally burning 50% of it away. If you're looking for something more punchy, I gotta say, smoke your joint, but also add on a sublingual or an edible, and that will really take you to the next level. So I gotta say, even if I personally have not smoked all of these products, I have trust in the cannabis sommelier community, because we've been trained to grade cannabis, and we know that when something's a quad, we get excited about it and we celebrate it and we share it in our network. And this is why it's so important to stay connected with the community, because you can leverage the expertise of cannabis sommeliers. So then it kind of it just takes the pressure off of yourself and moves your credibility onto a collective group, the Cannabis Sommelier group, okay? And we collectively graded thousands of products, so we know. And so these are easy tips that I feel you can implement right away. But remember, it's your mindset that you have to overcome first, so you can project yourself as a confident person. And so take your mind out and open up your heart. For bud tenders, I want to let you know that I use these tips to build my network, gain trust, and build loyalty. It took me only 6 months for me to double my client base. I use a referral program, and I compounded over the next 6 months, where the business quadrupled in sales revenue. Okay. And most of my customers were just loyal. They kept on coming back. So they even would drive over 20 minutes, bypass other stores just to come see me, because they loved my vibe, right? They felt connected to me. Not necessarily about how smart I was, but how enjoyable of a person I was when serving them. And for the young peoples out there, especially the ladies that feel that they've already been criticized by these OG customers, they'll come in and say, I've been smoking weed for longer than you've been alive, right? And you don't know what old school cannabis used to be like. Well, I gotta say, when it comes to cannabis culture, you are an accurate representation of that. These old school smokers, they have their history and their previous experiences, and that's what set cannabis culture in their mind and experience. However, cannabis culture defined does not mean a typical stoner, okay? I'm saying people that consume cannabis on a regular basis, that live functional lives, have figured out how to incorporate cannabis into their lifestyle, okay? And so everybody's consumption experience and lifestyle is relevant to cannabis culture.
Navigating new cities can be hectic, but then I got high.
Traveling for business can be exhausting, and then I got high.
Get high at highnb.life. All of the highs, none of the hassles.